Stamford voters veto school budget. Margaretville approves school budget. Grand Gorge gets DRI funds. These are just some of the headlines this week. Welcome to Catskills Air. I'm Jessica Murphy here with your latest local news. Joining me now is Matt Avitable, editor and publisher of the Mountain Eagle and Catskills Chronicle. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Before we jump into the latest news, let's talk about Memorial Day last weekend. We remember those who gave their lives in service to our country and citizens, those who served in wars and at home. About 15 honor parades took place on Monday throughout our area. The papers will have photos of the parades next week, right, Matt? But give us some highlights.
Absolutely. A lot of memorial services. Those who served gave us our freedom and allowed us to enjoy our country as we approach 250 years. Despite some rain, a lot of people enjoyed the weekend. There are a lot of events locally, a lot of stuff marking the beginning of summer started all around the area.
The New York State Department of Health held a special dedication on Tuesday, May 19th. 9 fallen emergency medical provider names were added to the Tree of Life at the EMS Memorial in Albany.
There's absolutely risk to entering EMS, but there's also a lot of rewards. And what you get to do as an EMS professional and to help people in their hardest times is something that you just can't describe. And that's why we make it such a big deal that if somebody does lose their life in the line of duty, that we recognize them, we honor them, and we remember them. And that's what this memorial is really about.
We thank all who serve, from our emergency workers and volunteers to our war veterans. Reporter Lorcan Otway has a moving profile of a local man who survived the Battle of the Bulge. Matt, brief us on Dr. Everett W. Foreman.
This is a really good one. As Lorcan wrote, a few words about a man of few words. Back in 1944, Everett Foreman was a young doctor. He was as far forward as his commanding officers could put him, and ultimately he was there at the battalion aid station as the German forces attempted to overrun positions to try and take an important port in Belgium. Without warning, this entire battle, one of the toughest for American soldiers in the Second World War, began. He's soft-spoken, he's humble, and he talked about the battle as well as his time as a doctor at Stanford. And so his service was just one of the markers of all that many have done, including those who have fallen for our country.
Catskills Air wants to thank Lorcan for sharing Dr. Foreman's story. Now we have a lot of news, so let's get to it. Last week, school budgets and more were voted on around the county. By a very narrow vote, Stamford voters rejected their school budget. Matt, why was it voted down and what was approved?
So we have some thumbs up and thumbs down around the area. Stamford wound up turning down their almost $12 million budget. 73 voters voted yes, and 75 ultimately voted no. The district voters did approve a school bus, but ultimately that budget is going to come back out to vote.
And over in Margaretville, voters were in a yes mood. They gave a thumbs up to the budget and more.
We wound up seeing lopsided margins in a couple of races. For starters, 291 voters voted yes on the budget, 125 said no. We also wound up seeing the school bus proposition also passing. There was a library proposition that passed by a large margin, and Board Chair Doris Warner wound up with a significant victory, getting 232 votes.
There's more school news, and we'll get to all that later. 2 communities voted to joint funding of their libraries, Margaretville's Fairview and Fleischman's Skeen.
252 votes were yes, 164 were no. The approved proposition is hoped to bring in stable, reliable funding for Fairview and the Skeen Memorial Library. The hope is that both libraries are going to benefit from this move.
While we're talking about Skeen Library, it had more support, this time at the Vintage Baseball Season home opener.
Turns out the Vintage Baseball League was not only able to have this great home opener, they were able to raise funds for the Skeen Library. The home team wound up losing 21-11 to the Westfield Wheelmen visiting from the Berkshires, but the Mountain Athletic Club put on a great time and wound up raising money. for the local library.
Also, Skeen made news last week by honoring a local publisher.
So here, Purple Mountain Press has undergone this great advancement, great revitalization. The Skeen Memorial Library teamed up with Purple Mountain Press to honor both Ray and Lori Rominger, who were crucial publishers and supporters of local press in this area. And in honor of the two founders of Purple Mountain Press, the publishers donated 18 of their local history books and a rosewood plaque honoring their legacy.
Stop by Skeen to check out the new collection. Stamford has library news as well. The town board heard about a kickoff party held over the weekend for the proposed library.
Library officials are planning a party to kick off the push for the new building on May 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. Julie Rockefeller, local business owner from Hobart and library board member, talked to the town board about this in Stamford. It looks like it's going to be a great time as the group talks about the new sections of the library, new community room, new garden, children's library, adult library, and much, much more. If you want to find out more about Stamford's library, make sure to stop by May 30th.
The Downtown Revitalization Initiative comes to the rescue of another local community. What's getting the reno in Grand Gorge?
In conjunction with what's happening in Roxbury, another part of the town, the hamlet of Grand Gorge, is going to be receiving quite a bit of money. The MARC project announced this other round of DRI, or Downtown Revitalization Initiative funding, to help out small projects in Grand Gorge, but they're not going to be small to the community. With that, several landmarks along Route 23, including the post office, will be revitalized. This is going to help out Grand Gorge quite a bit, the intersection of so many of the paths through the Catskills.
The Margaretville Town Board opted to table a food truck law, as well as tackled some other business.
Further discussion wound up happening, but it wound up stopping as well, as the village board opted to table the discussion about this proposed law regulating food trucks. Trustees hope to include language stating that food trucks may be parked only in licensed areas when in use. With that being said, there's going to be further public hearings before anything is done. The village board discussed the $4.5 million coming through the New York Forward program. Funds will be used downtown, and as the weeks go on, the village is going to be unveiling more public comment and more potential plans.
Middletown Board held a quickie meeting as Supervisor Glenn Faulkner was absent, but they did handle new town appointments and approved a liquor license.
It was a short meeting. Supervisor Glenn Faulkner couldn't make it, but important things still happened. We wound up seeing Gary Cusin appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 4-year term. We also saw the appointment of James Rogers and Kevin Hubble, each to 5-year terms on the planning board. We saw the town advertising the hang of the new Kingston sewer plant, and there was no objections to the liquor license for the Meadows Golf Center.
Now for more school voting news. In Delhi, voters approved the Delaware Academy budget.
While there were some negatives in the school board votes, there was also some positives. We wound up seeing Proposition 1, the budget, passing by a more than 3-1 margin. We also wound up seeing several seats on the school board being filled by the voters.
Voters also okayed Charlotte Valley's proposed school budget, as well as filled 2 trustee posts.
Charlotte Valley approved that budget more than 2-1, 83 yes, 39 no. We wound up also seeing 2 candidates running unopposed and winning.
Over in Boyceville, voters overwhelmingly passed the Onteora School District budget and seated 3 new board members.
Absolutely, a more than 2-1 margin here, with 478 voters saying yes, 194 saying no. We also wound up seeing 3 new members, as you mentioned, joining the board.
In other school business, because of declining enrollments, Delaware and Tri-Valley leagues came together to save school athletics. Matt, what is the framework that's being put into place?
We're going to be having a similar update in next week's paper as well, but for right now, it looks like we're going to have several major leagues coming together. Delaware and Tri-Valley leagues wind up overlapping parts of Delaware and Otsego County. In fact, we have a lot of areas around the ONC BOCES region, which includes those counties and further out. The hope is that these leagues are going to come together. They're going to retain their unique identity and their historical programs while also sharing resources, especially as we wind up with declining enrollment across much of the area.
In more school news, there's a population surge in the pre-K age group. Matt, Delhi's Delaware Academy has a wait list.
While there is declining enrollment across many of the areas, there are 8 children on the wait list, according to Superintendent Carrie Schultz at the last meeting. With that, the school could open a second classroom with 1 teacher. Each classroom is only permitted to accommodate 18 children. And to budget properly, the district would need at least 5 more students. The superintendent said that the school does not have to have a lottery to fill the spots, and instead, they plan to keep registration open until the additional 5 spots are filled. So it looks like one school might be having more rather than less students.
Harpersfield Town Board covered Revolutionary War history to a new dog law last week.
Our own Liz Page attended this meeting and heard a presentation on John Harper's Field, as well as other major topics. With that, Bill Nicholson, the president of the Harpersfield Historical Association, provided that information, including the earliest days of the town, and left a book of John Harper's Field that will be available at the town clerk's office if anyone would like to read it. We also saw a similar presentation from Julie Rockefeller about the big party that's going to be happening at the Stanford Library. A recent dog complaint that went to court has prompted the town to consider putting in a dog law. The idea here is that the court needs authority to be able to act in future cases. The town attorney is reviewing the state dog laws, and the town dog control officer, Jeff Bell, reviewed a law in Richmondville up in Schoharie County, making some suggestions for the new law using Richmondville as a template. And Bell said that overall he likes it, and we're going to see if the town does put in place this new dog law.
On Saturday, May 16th, a young Andes man lost his life in a fatal car crash. Matt, what happened?
A terrible tragedy. On May 16th, around 8 p.m., New York State Police responded to a one-vehicle crash on County Highway 1 and Little Dingle Hill Road in the town of Andes. And ultimately, Ethan Ray Kennedy, 27 of Delhi, was operating a Mazda MX-5 Miata on County Highway 1 when he lost control, went off the highway, struck an earth embankment, causing the vehicle to roll, and he lost his life.
A Claryville man was arrested Monday, May 11th, when he was found somewhere he didn't belong. A Delaware County Sheriff's deputy on routine patrol first spotted 41-year-old Alex J. Scrivani walking along Route 28 in Andes. Suspicious, he tried to talk to him, but Scrivani refused to cooperate, so the deputy waited around. A short time later, he saw him leave a residence and come down the driveway. The deputy quickly learned that he wasn't supposed to be there. The homeowner was called and came to the scene. Further investigation showed that Scrivani forced open the front door. His stuff was inside the house and nothing was taken due to the interruption by the deputy. Scrivani was arrested on a burglary felony and criminal mischief misdemeanor. He was taken to Delaware County Correctional to await bail. Hobart Community Alliance has a full agenda, everything from jobs, exhibits, grants, and community planning. What's the picture here, Matt?
Hobart is continuing to grow as coordinator Julie Rockefeller of the Hobart Community Alliance led a local discussion. In fact, I had one with the group on Tuesday, had a really good time. In addition, the hope is to bring in new volunteers, including members of the planning board. The Historical Society and Mural are collaborating on a summer exhibition. And we also see Federico Zimmerman of the Book Village Inn relocating Creative Corner Books and New York Books and Ephemera to the barn behind the inn. A lot of stuff is happening as Hobart is heating up for the summer.
New York's future Farmers of America gathered in Buffalo last week, and Republican Assemblyman Chris Tague got a special recognition.
Chris is a former dairy farmer from Schoharie near me and ultimately was elected into this Hall of Fame. He's advocated on behalf of farmers and the FFA during his time as town supervisor and in the state assembly.
Meanwhile, Democratic State Senate candidate Michelle Frazier stood up for financial aid to farmers.
Very similar, talking about advocating for farmers. Candidate Michelle Frazier, who is running against Tague for its state Senate seat, talked about strong support for legislation she says will help farmers, including financial assistance for farmers impacted by severe weather events across the state.
And while we're on farms, it's the season and the farmer markets are open. Pack-a-tackin' at the Round Barn drew a big crowd on Route 30.
We got some great photos and a great write-up by our own Lorcan Otway. He attended this opening. Lots of vendors, lots of happy faces, and he talked to some of the visitors and some of the vendors. If you want to find out more, make sure to head over. There's a tremendous amount of stuff happening locally, and we hope to see you there.
And the smaller Bovina Farmers Market, but no less a great draw, opened Memorial Day weekend and has everything from food to flowers to music.
We have some in our Welcome to the Catskills section this week. These are going to be 4 to 7 p.m. The first one was during Memorial Day weekend, but they're going to continue through Labor Day weekend on September 4th.
Bel Air Mountain is not just for skiing, as most of us locals know. The resort has just announced its summer and fall events. So what's on the schedule, Matt?
We have some nice photos too. If you want to hike, if you want to kayak, if you want to ride the lift, if you want to find out more about the local area, there is so much going on. I know that many people go to Bel Air Beach. We have a whole write-up this week about all the fun stuff that's happening at Bel Air this summer.
And we've been talking about things to see and do, and you have a new section in the paper this week, the 2026 Guide to the Catskills.
Absolutely. 24 pages about what's happening locally. We have write-ups, we have ads, we have calendars. If you want to find out what's happening across the Catskills, check out this week's paper. We got 60 pages of regular news, 24 in Welcome to the Catskills, and even more than that. Check it out this week, and I hope that everyone had a great weekend.
We'll be sure to check that out. For more on these and other articles, pick up the Mountain Eagle or Catskills Chronicle. But Matt, before you go, what's in the plans for the coming week?
There's quite a few things because now we have multiple districts rejecting their school budgets. So now the school board is going to have to come back and bring another budget to the voters. We're going to have follow-ups as the county is going to be moving into a new meeting. And we're going to have the end of the baseball season, including some sectionals.
Excellent. Well, thanks for keeping us all up to date, and we will see you next week. And now it's time to talk sports. Here's John with high school heartbreakers to hallelujahs.
After Delhi's baseball team dropped a heartbreaker, a 10-9 Mid-State Athletic Conference game, allowing the tying and winning runs in the bottom of the 7th inning, the Bulldogs roared back to blast Tioga 14-1 in the opening round of the Section 4 Class C baseball tournament. Lucas Nellis spun a 3-hit pitching gem for Delhi. The Bulldogs used a mammoth 6-inning rally, scoring 11 times to break open a close contest. Skenevis Charlotte Valley toppled Edmonston 3-1 in an exciting baseball contest to capture the Tri-Valley League Championship in a game played in Sydney. The title was the first ever for the merged Skenevis Charlotte Valley program. Skenevis captured the Tri-Valley title last season. In other baseball action, Deposit Hancock won a pair of games in the Sullivan West baseball tournament, first besting Port Jervis, then later in a slugfest outlasting Monticello 9-6. Jacoby Mapes was the slugging star for Deposit Hancock, slamming a pair of home runs and knocking home 5 RBIs. Preparing for the Section 4 Class D softball sectionals, Richfield Springs Owen D. Young nipped Charlotte Valley Skenevis 11-10 in a non-league matchup. The game was a non-sectional game, but the results will count in the sectional seeding. Mackenzie Burdick chalked up 12 strikeouts in the pitching circle for RS Owen D. Young. Burdick also had 3 hits at the plate. Stanford Jefferson split a pair of games in a doubleheader played in Hunter, SJ downing the hosts 13-0 in the opening game, then falling to HT 9-7 in the nightcap. Allison Vasta pitched a one-hitter, fanning 8 in the opening game, shutout for SJ. Rose Bevilacqua scored 3 runs for the Victors. That's our sports report for this week.
Thanks, John. It's the season for swimming and boating, and the New York DEC has these tips for protecting your boat in our waters.
Getting out on the water is a great way to enjoy the outdoors. Properly cleaning your watercraft and equipment can protect the waters you love. Clean, drain, and dry every time to avoid spreading invasive species. Zebra mussels can latch onto and destroy your boat's engine. Hydrilla can become so dense that it prevents water access. Boat stewards across New York State can show you how to properly clean, drain, and dry. For more information, visit the DEC website and search aquatic invasive species. Can we count on you to protect your waters?
Now let's see what Elizabeth has in arts and entertainment.
Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Focus on the Arts News Spot. We're having a wonderful day in the Catskills. Okay, May 31st, the Lauren Daniels Trio, the music on the Delaware Coffee House at the Walton Theater, the wonderful Walton Theater. This will be the final Coffee House event for the 2026 season. Coffee House is a wonderful, intimate area. The Lauren Daniels Trio with Lou Pappas and Joe Damone on bass and percussion. It's free from 6 to 8. There will be desserts and drinks available during the intermission. So a wonderful event. Lauren Daniels plays incredible jazz. Academy of Forte Piano Performance faculty members will perform keyboard music from the ages for the ages. Timeless music. May 30th at the Dr. O Center of the Arts, Main Street, Hunter. The tickets you can buy online. You want to do that as soon as possible. These are renowned musicians and the up-and-coming students that will be the next group of fabulous classical musicians. Arville Creations in Rensselaerville with Tara Hustash, an incredible human. Sean Allison will be directing the Laramie Project by Moises Kaufman and the members of Tectonic Theater Project. June 12th, 14th at the Conkling Hall, and then June 19th to the 21st at the Bridge Street Theater. If you're not familiar with the Laramie Project, this is about Matthew Shepard, the incredible soul that was lost to horrible violence because of who he was, and the community's response afterwards. Check out online how to get tickets and more information at Arville Creations. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Go out and enjoy. Mark your calendars. Art, music, and politics come together to support Delco Democratic candidates. The event is at Union Grove Brewstillery in Arkville on Saturday, June 13th. Local musicians will perform. Local artists' works are up for bid, along with the local candidates for handshaking. Last week was a real seesaw weather-wise, high heat and then chilly and a rainy weekend. Will this week be better? Here's the forecast.
Heidi-ho, friends and neighbors, it's Lori with CatskillsAir, bringing you your weekly weather update for the beautiful, pristine, so highly wacky and unpredictable weather Catskill Mountain region. And wow, what a chilly weekend we had for the holiday weekend. But I got some good news for all of you. This weekend weather, we're going to have temperatures on the rise and plenty of sunshine. So let's give it a go and check out what's happening for this coming weekend weather in the Catskill High Peaks.
On Monday, Memorial Day, we can expect mostly cloudy skies with peaks of sunshine. Temperatures on the rise to the mid to upper 60s, winds out of the west at 5 to 10. Overnight, we have partly cloudy skies, then overcast skies after midnight. Temps are going to dip back to the low 50s, winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10. On Tuesday, we can expect cloudy skies early with partly cloudy skies in the afternoon. Temperatures are going to be on the rise to the mid to upper 70s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10. On night, we have partially clearing after midnight, with temperatures dipping back to the upper 50s, winds light and variable. On Wednesday, we have a mix of sun and clouds. The winds will be gusty. Temps are going to be in the upper 70s, maybe low 80s, some areas of the Catskill High Peaks. Winds out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. Overnight, partly cloudy skies, temps dipping back to the mid to upper 50s, winds out of the north-northwest at 5 to 10. On Thursday, we have partly cloudy skies with breezy conditions. Temps are going to dip back to the mid to low 70s, winds out of the north-northwest at 10 to 20. Overnight, we have partly cloudy skies, with temperatures reaching and dipping back to the low 50s, winds out of the north-northwest at 5 to 10. And on Friday, we have intervals of clouds and sun with temperatures in the low 70s, winds out of the north-northwest at 5 to 10. And overnight, we have partly cloudy skies with temperatures tipping back to the upper 40s, low 50s, winds lightly blowing out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10.
As I bid you farewell, remember that weather and temperature changes on a dime, especially in the beautiful Cats. Be sure to join me, Lori, for your weekend weather update, because I have a feeling it's going to be a hot one. So see you then from somewhere in the Cats.
That's it for CatskillsAir News. If you see something, let us know. I'm Jessica Murphy. Bye for now.